Hello and welcome back to HCS Weekly. I'm your host, ShyWay, and of course, we're covering all things HCS once again. A lot happening in the world of Halo. Halo 3 has been popping off. UGC sold 96 team passes for a massive event. This is unprecedented in the HCS. So let's kick off this show with an awesome announcement. Tony, you got the graphic. You can throw it up. I'd like to announce that we are officially opening it up to 128 teams now for the HCS. There we have it with the graphic, 128 teams. This has never been seen since the inception of HCS. So if you guys want to grab your team pass, now is the time to do it. Understand that the first set of team passes sold out in a day. The second set sold out in like an hour. The third set sold out in another day after that. And now we're on to the fourth set. I have no idea how fast this is going to sell. And I've got two other things to talk about as well to keep tabs on. You can also volunteer for this event, guys. If you want to volunteer, you will get a free pass into the event. And this could do, you can get experience as a referee. You can help out in a variety of different ways with setting up the event as well. So check out ugc.gg/volunteer to be involved as volunteer, and stick around till the end of the show today because we're going to be giving away a team pass for free at the end of the show. There you go, the graphic on screen. We have one team pass available. All you got to do is be here at the end of the show, and guys, you got pretty good chances. I don't think we've had more than like 70 viewers live watch this show just yet, so maybe this will incentivize some more viewership, but I mean, that's a pretty good chance to grab a free team pass for what is looking like the hottest Halo event of 2018 so far. So pretty amazing stuff. And of course, you guys know Halo as a franchise is very competitive. Halo 5 just finished, and it was one of the biggest events. And one of the interesting things about Halo 5 was just how dominant that TOC squad was. So dominant that we have not seen a squad dominate quite that much in the past decade. So it brings up an interesting topic of discussion. Which Halo team is the most dominant Halo team of all time, the greatest Halo team of all time? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And of course, I have an amazing individual to bring on the show. This guy is probably the perfect guy to talk about this because he's been in classic Halo since the inception, a member of the Pennacchio family who started the LAN network, a huge place for Halo competitors, a coach of status quo, a coach of Final Boss. Let's meet Joe Fries.
You did work it in.
I had to say that. I know. I had such a long intro I wanted to do, but I had to end it with "Let's meet Joe Fries" and make sure that came out. But awesome segment that you did, by the way. I love that. I wish there were more episodes.
Thanks. Yeah, we might have to revisit it. I know we have more in the archives. It's just a matter of cutting it up. I don't know how well the film has aged, but yeah, hopefully, maybe it would still look good. Who knows?
Well, it's exciting because like going back to those interviews, those were like pre-success. Like for example, Golden Boy, who is just massive now. You're talking to Golden Boy, and the guy looked so young. He looked like a baby in the video. So it's cool to see how much he's like grown and changed, and he's getting shouted out by the Rock on Twitter now, which is insane. But fast forward to the present. I know you were at the Envy offices just a second ago. Now you said Assault's house, and you were working with the EG team, the EG video team as well with Towie. Apparently, I'm not allowed to say the T word. What are you up to over there? What's going on?
Yeah, so I have a close relationship with the Envy guys. We actually did a Meet Joe Fries with Astro as well. I don't know if that ever made it out, nice. But he's the owner of Team Envy. Or just Envy now, as they're called. They've rebranded a couple times, so I get confused. But yeah, I'm over here at Assault's place. He was on our EG COD roster for the past year, and nice. Him and I are good friends because I spent the whole year following the COD team as well as following other teams with the EG film department, which is mostly just me and one other guy who does the Dota stuff. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of time with the teams over this past year, a lot of traveling.
What are you doing with EG exactly? Like what's the role?
I do all of their video stuff. So anything that comes out on like Instagram, Twitter, that's not like a graphic, like a moving graphic, right. Anything that's like video of the guys, or like I just did an announcement we picked up a streamer for Artifact, the card game, the like Dota card game that just came out. So I did like a little short announcement video for him. It was a cool like poker themed reveal. It was actually a lot of fun to work on. So I get a lot of like creative control on stuff that I want to work on. I get to like pitch ideas and stuff. Yeah, anything video related pretty much comes through me, and I get to do a lot of creative stuff too. So it's a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy my job. Shout out to EG for putting me on. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds amazing. Like one of the biggest things, and it's unfortunate that EG is no longer a part of Halo, because I felt like EG was one of like the shining stars of the Halo community with the video content that they had. Like there were so many reasons to support Roy and Lunchbox and Ogre and the boys. It's just because you could see their personalities. They had all these videos that would bring out who they were and their goals as a team, and it made you want to root for them and be along with the ride. And I think it brought up the whole, you know, the production value of the Halo competitive Halo scene in a big way as well. And nobody else is really doing it, so it's unfortunate that EG is no longer, you know, a part of that circle. But hopefully someday in the future, hopefully Halo, you know, comes back in a big way. Now for you, Halo has been, sorry, you're going to say something.
No. So I was just going to say the Up to Speed series for Halo was cool. It was every esport needs content like that. It's like the only way to foster growth is to have, you know, get people invested in the personalities that are behind the teams. It's pretty simple, and that's why COD's seen so much success, because they've had personalities like Nadeshot and Scump, even people like Sharp, Sensor, people with big YouTube followings that bring that following then back into the competitive scene and increase the viewership. It's a shame that not as many people do it in Halo. I wish more people did.
Yeah, and I mean. There are mixed views on Halo and the franchise, whatever it is. I hope that it's something that they bring to Halo Infinite, and they bring it in a big way. But I completely agree. I think that's the best way to build the personalities, to build these individuals, and then communities as well. I mean, having, you know, Roy is one of the biggest individuals in Halo because of all the amazing, I mean, on top of the fact that he's an amazing player, but the video, you know, the videography and all of that helps as well. And when he came back to stream recently, the man popped off. He had over 1,000 viewers, and it actually felt like there was a Halo community again. It felt like we had disappeared when we came back. So it really is testament to the kind of quality content that you guys are bringing out. And I hope we see more, man. Honestly, like it was so exciting seeing Roy stream.
It was awesome, man. We had him on the big screen in my living room. I had my dad watching it, and my mom, oh, is Roy streaming?
The Roy's our boy chant, man. It never stopped.
That's why my house is a weird place, and I walk out and throw the Roy stream on the big screen, or throw a Fear Itself stream on when I'm at my parents' house, and they sit there right with me and have a good time watching it.
That's so awesome. No, I can't wait to talk about that, man. Honestly, first let's talk about your history in Halo, though, because you have a hell of a history in Halo. Of course, you remember the Pennacchio family. You guys have the LAN network and everything. But how did you even get into Halo, and how did you start going to events? When did all this happen?
Man, I was like 12, 13.
Nice.
I picked up Halo day, like launch day. My dad,
Halo
of course, maniac. Buy every console we got day one with all the launch titles. So we had the Xbox first day it came out. I think I got it a little bit after it came out, because my mom wanted to give it to us for Christmas, but my dad couldn't wait. So he threw it to us like before Thanksgiving. He's like, yeah, it's the Thanksgiving present. And we got like the Xbox, the GameCube, and the PlayStation 2 all at the same time.
Dude, I'm freaking jealous. What the hell? I had to buy myself an Xbox. I didn't get the GameCube till like 5 years after it came out. It was like 2007, I think I got the game. Anyway.
So I mean, we just started playing Halo. It was like the first multiplayer, that and like Fusion Frenzy. But we started playing Halo with my neighborhood. Like my neighbors would come over and we'd play, and they were better than me, and then I became better than them. And then I started reaching out to people in like my middle school and my high school, and I became like better than all of them. And then we made a little team, and we went to this tournament in 2004, the iGames Expo X tournaments. It was like the first national tournament, I think, for console esports. 2004. They had local qualifiers in every state at LAN centers where you had to go and compete, and if you finished in the top two, you got invited, or the top two, you got invited to New York for the national tournament. So we qualified in Illinois, and then we drove. My cousin, who was on our team, who was old enough, he's like 21, drove us all to New York, and we stayed in New York. We competed in this tournament. We got like top 24, I guess. But like Walsh was there, like a lot of the big names. I don't think the Ogre twins were there, but like Walsh was there, and like a lot of the big names were there. Lil Poison's dad ran it, and that was like, after I did that, that was it. Like I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm gonna go to as many of these as I possibly can. and I'm never going to stop playing this game. And I really didn't. I played like 8 hours a day every single day. And then Halo 2 came around, kept doing the same thing. And then Halo 3, I had just been taking a break, and I started playing again when the game came out. My brother decided that he wanted to play too. He used to play with us back in Halo 1, but he never played Halo 2 with me. And he's like got hooked on Halo 3.
Yeah.
It's like all of his, like a lot of the kids that were coming over were like his age, like high school kids that I just like started farming to like get a group of 8 people, because we always played LAN. We like barely ever did I sit by myself and play in a lobby. Like my dad bought us 4 Xbox 360s and 4 monitors. Wow. And we literally had people come over and we just like had a group of 4 playing against kids that were like all separated. So I grew up on like LAN and awesome. Just like playing as a group of 4. But my brother got super into it. And then when he got interested in it, of course, thanks Dad, then we started going to tournaments as a family. And my dad fell in love with the game too. My brother got on a pro team, like his second event. And from there it was history. I mean, we started the LAN network. After that, my dad is just like a super like innovative guy. He really just was ahead of the curve. Well, I don't even know how he found out that we could. I guess since he knew that they broadcasted the MLG tournaments, he's like, well, we could do this at home and like have tournaments and like practices, and we could broadcast the whole thing. And we had stuff that like still people don't have to this day. It's crazy.
So explain that for a second, just in case somebody doesn't know. What exactly is a LAN network? Because this was like huge for Halo pros at the time.
Yeah, it was like this very popular underground like Halo website that had a really like thriving forum, and we would hold practices like 6-team LANs or 4-team LANs or 5-team LANs or 3-team LANs. Anywhere from 3 to 6 teams would fly out to the LAN network house. We like leased a separate house. And we had like a permanent setup, 2 permanent setups really. So we had like 16 monitors, 16 Xboxes. It's just like all funded by my dad. He's just like went all out. And we had it on the website. It was free for a while, but then we put in like a paywall where you had to buy like a LAN pass, or you could pay like a monthly subscription to watch. And you could choose every time there was a LAN, you could choose between all 8 points of view on.
That's awesome.
Like whatever the main setup was. We would have like one off stream and one on stream. And my dad would do all the scheduling to like make sure that teams weren't being like overworked. We'd play like everybody would play the same amount of series every day, and like we'd have time to like eat, and we'd like cook all the meals and stuff. My mom would come over and cook. It's like wild, man. You could choose, literally the person who was watching could choose whoever they wanted to watch out of all the 8 players and just watch that person the whole time. We had a fantasy component.
That's so ahead of its
time. Unbelievable, man. Yeah, it was so fun.
Like, and it's crazy because you're housing the best players in Halo in the world. Like you've got Walshy, the Ogre's there. You've got Strongside, T-Squared, Nated, like Ninja's there. Ninja's like who's massive now. Like all the biggest pros who are still the biggest pros are commentators. Like anybody who was anybody in Halo was in that house grinding together. Like that must have been an amazing experience. Imagine Halo, like, semi-pros who would get into this house to try to get grind time. Like that must have been an amazing experience for them as well. So it's just the fact that it happened. Like, I don't know how much I want to get into it. I kind of want to know a little bit about your dad, like his passion behind this. Like, can you tell me a little bit about that? Like what sparked all this?
He's just a classic sports fanatic. So like anything that's competitive, I feel like I definitely picked this up from him. It's just like anything that is competitive, we're into. Like if there's a measuring stick, we want to see who's better than who. It's just it's very black and white. Like we want to know who's the best. Yeah. And like 1 through 8. And it was crazy because a lot of the tournaments, like the 6 teams that showed up were the teams that placed top 6, top 7, maybe one other team would sneak in, but it got like political at times because depending on what team my brother was on, sometimes we didn't want that other, like that rival team or whoever was like the instinct or somebody to come and get, that in that 6-team land right before the event. Maybe we'll bring him in the first land, 2 lands before that and get them their practice. And then, so we can still appease Roy and Lunch, but then later on we'll have a 6-team land without them and, really get the guys ready for the event. So there was some politicking that went on towards the end there, but it was competitive. Everybody wanted to be there. If you didn't come, it was pretty much guaranteed that you weren't going to place in the top 8 because the other teams were coming in off of like six days of straight land prep. Like they're playing like 8, 10, 12 series over the course of that time. It's like you're at a severe disadvantage.
Right. And the land environment is totally different as well. Like you're getting like the best connection ever. Even the way the weapons work and feel is different. Like certain things about, especially with Halo 3, certain things are completely different on land. On top of the fact that the online connection, I'm sure, was shoddy in certain ways as well. Like it's a totally different experience. And just being there with your teammates, being able to look at their monitors and work together on different strategies, like it's you're head and shoulders above. So pretty unreal. And just the fact that you were a part of it, that's a hell of a history to just look back on. I gotta say, man, like that's pretty unbelievable. Some of my fondest memories as a kid was playing a basement LAN with my friends, and that was just like we had 2 LANs together, and that was like my best memories as a kid. You guys abused the system.
I was spoiled. I mean, I had been doing it forever. Like even back to Halo 1, once we found out what System Link was, I swear to you that every single day of my life, freshman year of high school, I played at least 8 hours a day of Halo 1. We had a group of at least probably 10 people. So we had like some subs if some people couldn't make it that day. But we played every single day, Monday to Monday. And we played from like 3 or 4 p.m. as soon as school got out until our parents called us and we had to go home, like 11 p.m. Yeah. We played the whole time. And then on weekends, we played more. We played 12, 14 hours a day. We couldn't get enough of it. We played LAN every single day. The same thing with Halo 2. I did the same thing. Halo 2 was more online, I would say. But then back when Halo 3 got introduced, we went back to LANing all the time because we had that crazy setup in my basement and then the LAN network house. But yeah, I feel bad for people that didn't get to, like, don't get to, I guess I take it for granted. I really take it for granted. I really do take it for granted. Like I really got to play a lot of like top quality Halo because it's just not the same when you're playing online. It's not.
It's kind of like the inception of team houses in general. Like that's why you have all these team houses being formed these days. You guys just kind of got a bit of a head start, especially in Halo. But I mean, nowadays, when you look at like League of Legends is the biggest esports, you have to be in a team house to be competitive. Like you've got to be playing with your teammates 8 hours to 14 hours every single day to remain competitive. It's so intense. So yeah. And I'm starting to wonder why you were a coach and not a pro player. Were you never a pro player at any point with all that LAN time?
I mean, I had a brief stint competing in Halo 3. I played 3 events. One was with some local kids. We didn't do too well. I think we got like top 64. And then the next 2 events, I had a better team with Art of War and Killer Drew and a guy named Roast Beef. And we placed top 32, top 24, and then I quit. I feel like I really got hurt by taking time off in Halo 2. I got a girlfriend and like started playing paintball a lot and like traveling for that to like their version of MLG events or whatever. So I took a lot of time off and I was just doing like real life stuff. And I kind of lost most of my shot, I feel like, in that time. And when I came back, I tried to switch to Claw right when Halo 3 came out too. And that really messed me up. That probably was like something that I did that made it was like irrecoverable for me. I couldn't get back to where I was because I used to be like a not misser. Like I used to just crush because anybody that plays that much, it's not like a hard thing to, I'm not bragging. It's not like a tough thing to do. I played legitimately thousands and thousands of hours. Like anybody that plays that much is going to be good. But yeah, I hurt myself by quitting and then trying to switch my hand grip on my controller. And then I just I chose college over trying to compete professionally. I was like, I'm going to go to school and see what happens, and ended up not using my degree at all. So I could have just played Halo and
you and the rest of the world. Yeah. Yeah, man, dude, that claw grip though is actually the killer for so many people. I feel like you have to be raised on claw for claw to make sense. Like if you're just, your hand just kind of grows into the controller and it works. But if you try to pick up claw in your 20s, it's rough, man. Like that's why they have paddles, and I feel like that's a little more accessible. But I feel like the Xbox original, like the four. I'm using 4 paddles right now. Like I tried holding. They remade the Duke. Oh, it was before paddle.
Yeah, before they had any custom controllers. Really, I was excited that I got a controller that had paint on it, that had my logo and like my gamer tag on it. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And now people have paddles and stuff. It's so much easier for people to play now. It's nuts.
Yeah. I was thinking like maybe it had to do with like the ergonomics of the controller as well. Like if you look at the Duke controller, the original Xbox controller, it's so easy to claw on that. It's like built to claw. Like it's just the position of the buttons.
Like that downward slope on the side where you can like kind of reach up.
Right. But if you play an Xbox One controller, I don't know, maybe my hands are too big or something. It feels really awkward for me.
Very rigid.
But anyway,
like a breadstick.
Like exactly like a press. It just doesn't work. I'm gonna snap it. I don't know. Anyway, you stuck with it. You stuck with competitive Halo. You were there. You're watching, experiencing it, and a lot happened. The LAN network unfortunately had to end at a point, and then later along Halo 5 comes, and Halo 5 turns out to be a very competitive game. Some might say it could be the most competitive Halo yet. I know that's a big discussion in general, but it's very competitive. One of the reasons why it was so competitive though, or one of the key indicators, was the fact that you didn't have like a mismatch of teams getting first place. You had like one team pretty much that was dominating throughout the 3 years. Now I know Splice had their moment of dominance as well, but I'd say if you look at the 3 years, it was Tox, and this was CLG, Optic, and Tox that completely dominated with their squad of Royal 2, Snakebite, Lethal, and Frosty. So it makes you wonder, because we haven't seen dominance like this since like a decade ago with Final Boss, makes you wonder which is the greatest team of all time, which is the most dominant team of all time. This is a discussion sparked by a tweet by Slasher. Tony, you can throw up the tweet. We can take a look at that discussion that we saw on Twitter. It's not Final Boss. It's not Straight Rippin'. It's not Evil Geniuses. The CLG Optic Tox team of Lethal, Royal 2, Frosty, and Snakebite are the greatest Halo team of all time. Bold statement. A statement you had something to say to as well. I don't know if we want to throw up the
very bold statement.
Yeah. What's that other tweet, Tony? And then we'll get your. You were saying, SKT, Team Dom, 3D, Final Boss finished first or second every tournament from 2004 to 2008, ending their streak after winning MLG Medal in 2008, winning as many as 10 events in a row during that time across 3 different titles. So that is an interesting point. So what do you think about which is the most dominant team? Is it Tox?
It's absolutely, and let me get real close here, absolutely and 100% not Tox. And that's no disrespect to Snakebite and Royal 2 and my boy Frosty, my son, who I coached when he was on Kobe's team.
I thought Stellar was your son.
And well, Stellar's he's like a small clone.
He literally looks like a clone.
and of course TJ. Not taking anything away from them, but through no fault of their own, the scene was just watered down at that point, or at this point, I guess. A lot of the big names have taken their exit, and I could dive right in here and just hit you with the big facts right away.
Hit me with everything.
All right, we'll go back to I
got tabs open as well.
The MLG Las Vegas Championship 2007, Halo 2. The pinnacle, you could argue, of Halo 2.
MLG.
These are the teams.
Okay.
These are the teams that Final Boss had to beat to win the tournament. We'll start. Let's just start it at 5th place. Okay. This is the 5th place team here. Fear Itself, Hokum, Roy, and Lunchbox on 5K.
Wow, 5th place. Damn.
4th place, Victory X, SK, Nated, Pennacchio. Solid. Especially for a Halo 2 squad. Very solid Halo 2 team. You got to remember these are Halo 2 tournaments, so you got to take into account Halo 2. This is not a Halo 3 tournament or a Halo 4 tournament. God.
Right.
Thank God it's
definitely not Halo 4.
Tournament.
We're not touching Halo 4 today.
In third place, straight ripping. T Squared, Neighbor, Elamite, legit. One of the best teams of all time.
Squad, yeah.
Second place, Carbon. Also one of the best teams of all time. Shockwave, Gandhi, Ghost, Karma. Final boss was so dominant that they came into this tournament and beat Carbon 6-0. 6-0.
Yep. A lot of dramatic pausing on that one. 6-0.
6-0. They 3-0'd.
It's pretty epic.
I think they 3-0'd all the way. I don't think, did they lose a game? Maybe.
You're looking at a different.
They might have lost. They might have lost some games, but regardless, this is the kind of dominance that we're talking about over teams that were very, very solid. And on the other side, we can't really say the same thing. We got the final Halo 5 tournament, DreamHack Atlanta. Tox Gaming beats Team Reciprocity, which is...
You got Snipe Down Nola on there.
Ola? Okay. Fair. Who are the other two?
That's the thing. It's like, well, they're nobodies to you, but to Halo 5, these are amazing. They're top 10 players in the world. You know what I mean? Like that's a weird thing. Is like, I completely agree that like all the players that you listed in those squads are amazing. They're like world renowned, like Halo all-stars. But unfortunately, because Halo 5 doesn't have the same clout, these players don't really get that kind of recognition. It doesn't mean they're not, equally as talented though. These guys are insane. Like I analyze these guys' gameplay firsthand and I see it, they're amazing players. Reciprocity is a hell of a squad.
But like you go down to 5th place and you have the Anaheim Pirates. And you're like,
it's comprised of great players. The thing that you definitely have a point on is that squads were formed recently, though. A lot of the
no disrespect to Sloss Boss, Straight Sick, or Commonly. Both good players and good friends. But you're comparing them with Lunch, Roy, Hokum, and Fear itself. If we're going like 1-to-1 here. It's just, for me, it's tough when you think about like legacy and what these guys were up against. I mean, this is also at a time where like everybody in the world was playing Halo 2
in the world.
Halo, think about what console gaming was in 2007, and nobody played anything else. It was just Halo. Like you talked about Halo in high school with your friends. You went home and you played Halo. You went on Bungie.net and read the patch notes and the updates from Frankie and like checked your level during study hall. Like, this maybe just was my high school experience, but maybe some other people were doing the same thing. But I feel like
I can imagine that's
was true. Like they were winning on a different level at the pinnacle of console esports. Like you could argue that the pinnacle was like H3 when everybody had all that good practice at the LAN network and stuff like that. Like probably peak H3, like 2010 H3 was probably like the most competitive Halo had ever been, just because of the quality of practice that people were getting.
But 2010 H3, we're not dipping into that though, right? Because I don't see any stats for.
No.
They only go up. They actually only have one win in Halo 3.
It's the first event.
2, and we also have to talk about the composition of players on the team, because that switches up a little bit. You said it was across 3 titles, not to start digging into things, but I would really say it was only across Halo 2, because the actual squad that I think we should be looking at is Ogre 2, Ogre 1, Saiyan, and Walshy, who dominated throughout Halo 2, like convincingly. And then that switched with Strongside and Saiyan, and they won 1 Halo 3 event. And then after that, they kind of, they have 7th, 5th, 3rd, 3rd, 4th, and then separation. So it's really, I'd say Halo 2 is the game that we're looking at as far as their dominance goes. Now, Tony, I know you're sending me messages here. You're saying that I should call out people in the stream. People are loving it. Yeah. What are the comments? How do I see them? You want me to open the stream? What do you want me to do, Tony?
This guy doesn't even know the stream open. Can you believe this?
This guy can't open streams. He can't argue about Halo. What? Well, I mean, yes. All right, fine. I'll open the damn stream. HCS Weekly. I'll give one much needed viewer. Okay, what do we got? How do I go back though? I can't go back in the old comments.
There's no retroactive chat.
I have it up here. Tony's saying never mind.
Halo 5 competitive equals the NBA East.
Well, okay, so and that's the thing is you're saying that Halo 3 was your world and that it was the pinnacle of Halo. It was super competitive. I agree, but like if we're looking at Halo 2 though, even with Halo 3, like it wasn't a cultural norm to be competitive with video games in any way whatsoever. Like majority of the population played Halo 3 casually. They didn't really follow the competitive scene. Nowadays, esports is a viable career option. Nowadays, esports is like, it is important. It's like a coveted thing. Like you've got teams in team houses grinding 14-hour days, and the access to competitive play, there's just so much more access to it, especially with online play being much smoother than it was back in the day. In Halo 2, how many online competitive matches did you really have that were like, I mean, I'm sure like quality of internet might have been okay, but I can't imagine it's anywhere near what we have today. So really they're getting their best practice at LANs, which was few and far between by comparison, right? So as far as like how much time these players had to grind and actually compete, at that level of play, they didn't have that same amount of time. Not that I want to jump into the level of play discussion just yet, because I also want to look at like the wins that the teams have and compare them to the Talks wins. What do we have in the chat here?
The thing that is different about Halo 2 though, in Halo 2 practice was the weapon of choice was hit scan. So you didn't have to worry about like quality issues really. It was just if you had a decent connection, your shots were going to hit. You really didn't get like BS'd a lot. So in terms of like preparing for an event, online was pretty decent. And then you have to remember, like in 2005, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 events. 13 events in 2005. That's like 4 times the amount of events that we've had in a Halo 5 season. How many Halo 5 majors did they normally have? 4? 3?
Yeah, so I don't know what is and isn't a major at this point, but if we're gonna look at
like an HCS event, like an HCS sanctioned major, like DreamHack Atlanta would be a major. I don't know what like a world championship, obviously a major.
There's like NA qualifiers and stuff, right?
No.
No?
No.
No. I've got a bunch of NA qualifiers. I've got
none of those first places count.
2016. But yeah, that's the thing too, is it does seem that there were more LAN events, like just more opportunities to get first place victories. I did actually tally up the number of first place victories that Ogre 1, Ogre 2, Sane, and Walshy had versus the number of first place victories that Talks had, and it's actually the same. If you look at just the squad with Ogre 1, Ogre 2, Sane, and Walshy, they have 14 first place victories from what I can see here. Like, so starting in Halo 2, and the crazy thing about that squad though is the fact that they won in a row 14. They didn't lose one. So that's one thing that I can't really fire back at you on, is that's 14 solid wins. Yeah. But
they got so good that they just stopped practicing. They literally were so far ahead of everyone that they just took their foot off the gas. They didn't even care. It was like, it was a joke. It really was a joke at that point. They could not lose. They could until they did, because they gave up basically. But I mean, I remember having a discussion with some of the guys on that team, and they were like, why would we practice? We were so much better than everyone. We knew so much more about the game than everybody else that it just it didn't
matter. It makes
matter.
it sound less competitive. It makes it sound like less of a victory when you say it like that. You know what I mean? It's like they knew so much more. Like they had access to information that other players just maybe didn't have. You know what I mean? It wasn't the competitive scene at the time wasn't as competitive. Maybe, who knows? And Talks does have the same number of wins. Just to say, 14 is what I've counted. Now they do have more second place finishes. They actually, everybody said they only came in first and second place apparently. So they've been to every grand finals. There is actually one event here that I see. I don't think it's a big one. It's a Series Cup in 2018 where they got third, fourth. But other than that, it's first and second throughout. And it totals out as 14 wins. And you were saying 6-0, but Talks is 8-0ing squads. Okay. Like these are the best, like Reciprocity we just saw. That was a solid 8-0 start to finish. They didn't drop a game. Kind of heart wrenching if you're a Reciprocity fan as well. I got to say, man, it was hard to watch, but it's just, the level of competitive play nowadays is insane. Like the requirements are like all of these events are much bigger. The prize pools are larger. It's much more important. And the amount the players are grinding, like they're grinding way more. You've got way better, modes of communication as well. Like a lot, I remember Clutch had made a comment on Twitter saying that a lot of these tournaments, they didn't even have headsets. They're just shouting at each other. So like,
the technology
I'm
wasn't
wondering,
there.
There it is. Yeah, here's I'm not trying to disrespect the legacy here, but the quality of Halo being played at those tournaments in 2004 is not comparable to 2018. He said, where does he say it? You don't even have it here, Tony.
I mean, if we're basing the quality of Halo on if players can hear footsteps, I mean, come on. It's that's a joke. You got to think here. Let's look at it this way. You have, did Talks have the same roster the whole time, right?
Right. They never switched. Well, I mean, like since they formed CLG together, they stayed together all the way through the end of Talks.
Right. Just different orgs. Okay. Who would you argue is the best pairing on the team?
Best pairing?
Like if you were to pick like two players, who's their best two players, would you say? Like,
that is so tough. Two players. I mean, okay, let's go from awards because they gave out awards. Let's go Frosty Royal 2 because they gave Royal 2 best shot and Frosty's best overall player. So I have to give Frosty the biggest one, but I'll say that, let's say that's the best pair.
Okay.
Because they're all amazing, honestly. Like,
so we can put them up against Ogre 1 and Ogre 2. By far the two best players of all time.
Okay.
In my mind, can't even be discussed. You have these two absolute freaks who literally split themselves up back when 2v2 competitions were a thing and they had them at every event. They split themselves up because they were sick of winning because it was too easy for them. Again, they went one with Walsh and one with Clockwork, or they'd play with whoever they wanted, and they still placed top two. Like every time. It's disgusting.
It's undeniable these players are amazing. I mean, but it doesn't necessarily, factor into like which team is most dominant though. But I completely agree. These players,
that's
amazing.
What I'm
they
saying.
have legacy.
So my point is that is going back to the competition thing, like saying that, doesn't seem like they were that dominant, or like trying to say that the practice wasn't as good. Like everybody that was playing Halo 2, like it may seem like a long time ago, or it may seem different to some people, but I promise you that everybody that was playing, regardless of if they were playing for salary or not, because none of them were, except for the people that were on contract with MLG, they were all playing 8-10 hours a day. Like this was their job. Like you've seen T-Squared's True Life. It's just, it was at a different time. They were playing for way, way less money, but they were still doing it full time. Like this was not a joke for these guys. And they were that good. I mean, think about those two from Halo 1 to Tom all the way through Halo. I don't even know. When did he quit? Halo 4, Halo 5? Did he play? He played Halo 5 events too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Wins the national championship in Reach, wins the national championship in Halo 3, wins the national championship in Halo 2, 2 of them, wins I don't even know how many national championships in Halo 1.
There's so much history to look back at, which makes it tough, right? Because if you want to compare Ogre 1, Ogre 2 to somebody like Frosty, who's like 19-year-old kid, but since Frosty's inception in Halo 5, he's been the best player in Halo 5 since like the beginning, and he still is, you know what I mean? So it's hard to say because he doesn't have a legacy that dates back all the way to Halo 2.
No disrespect to Bradley, but he was a trash can when I coached him.
Oh, yeah? Well, yeah, but Men's leveled up though. Men is like he's on the top of the world in Halo 5, and what about like the level of like the games are a lot different though too.
There was never a time when these two weren't the best. Later on in their careers, when they stopped caring a little bit, yeah, sure. Like right before they quit, Dan comes back to play with the Incredibles in Halo 3. Like, okay, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. But realistically, while they were competing, like actually competing, there was never a time where they weren't the absolute best, which is insane across from 2004 to 2008 is a hell of a career.
Something else is kind of wildly, something else is kind of wildly different though, is like if these teams were able to be so dominant without headsets, without proper communication, then it makes you wonder, you know, like, I guess how competitive or how like, because it's different. Like I could never imagine a Halo 5 competitive team like managing without that form of communication. Like that's necessary to have. Like individual skill, of course, is so important, but with Halo 5, it's a much faster paced game. You've got dynamic spawns that are way more difficult to keep track of. You're constantly moving and rotating, and you have to keep tabs on your teammates and where they are at all times. And you're constantly in communication with a team with like a game at that type of pace. Like, I don't think that would be possible in something like Classic Halo, but in Classic Halo or in, you know, Halo 3, Halo 2, when the game was, I guess, a little easier to understand from a macro perspective, then individual skill was more apparent and they could just kind of rip through people by being individually talented. They didn't necessarily need that communication. So today, what's required from teams to be the best teams, there's so much more that's required because the game moves so much more quickly. And there's so much more they have to think of from a macro perspective, you know?
I think, well, I think that the game, I mean,
I'm
definitely
surprised there's so many H5
slower.
fans in this comment section. I thought I was going to get ripped apart. Are you seeing this comment section? You're on a nostalgia chip right now.
The game was definitely slower from a movement perspective, but it was also much more cerebral. So it was easier for people to understand and play without as much communication because the game was consistent. And I think that is a big issue with Halo 5. It's a lot of what makes Tox's success so incredible to me,
right?
Is that they were able to do it in such like such like an RNG type game where that wasn't as chess-like, that wasn't as linear as Halo 2, where like if I stand here and you stand there, we know they're going to spawn over here. And that's the thing that I think made Halo 2 much easier to understand for players that didn't have headsets. It's like, we don't need to talk as much because if we all understand the game, like the way that we need to, we can talk about the game before and after. But during the game, we don't need to talk as much because we know what's going to happen based on, you know, how good we are, where we're standing, who dies where, and where the other team's spawning. All those things were just kind of like constantly going through these people's heads.
Yeah. So you're saying spawn manipulation is a lot easier to understand, so they can kind of just, you know,
when it's consistent work because you can manipulate spawns in Halo 5. It's just not nearly.
But it is actually consistent. I'd say it's probably the most consistent. Like it makes a lot of sense where players are spawning. There are some weird inconsistencies, I guess, with spawns in certain situations. Like let's say you're on Truth and you're like in the window and players can spawn bottom back at the base still. Like I'm not going to get too technical with things, but you can completely understand and manipulate spawns. And there's a kind of Tox has this way of creating a perimeter and just kind of pushing a perimeter. It's an outside in type of perspective where they're able to kind of control the outside of the map and then collapse into the center and constantly create this rotation where they have control. And this is something that's like, there's no RNG or any kind of factor in that. They've got it down to a system and they know exactly when to make that switch and when to move, you know, like accordingly. It's impressive. You have to see it happen. That's the thing, is like, I can't even explain it to you in real time. In Halo 3, it's like, or in classic Halo, I feel like it's kind of easier to understand, like in real time when it's happening. I can say, oh, this is how they're manipulating the spawns. But in Halo 5, you have to actually like pause the game and look at all the different areas that, like, where everybody is, and then make a guess as to where that spawn's going to be, and then see it happen. It's like, it's happening so fast. You have to take breaks just to understand what's going on. But they're processing all of this information and communicating and making it happen on the fly. And I think that's insane. It's the fact that they have it down to a system in a game where it's much harder to recognize consistency. So it's like, yes, you know, you're saying RNG, and to a lot of players, it might seem that way, but it takes a lot of time to recognize that it is actually consistent, can be manipulated. You have to be amazing. You have to be unreal at the game. and yeah, you need a coach. I see a lot of people saying you need coaches. Shout out to viewers on Mixer. We're on Mixer. Sick. Let's go.
Another set of eyes is definitely important.
I don't know, man.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
dude, there's just so much to take in. Like you said, there's so much to process with advanced movement. It just, like, I feel like it, not like, to use a term that totally doesn't make sense here, but it like prices a lot of people out. Like the barrier to like get to that good makes it so it's hard. It's like really hard for like you were just saying, I could explain Halo 2 spawns or Halo 1 spawns to somebody in probably a minute and a half. Right. But for you who watches Halo 5 all the time, to explain the Halo 5 spawn system as well as I could explain the Halo 1 spawn system to someone would probably take you 20 or 30 minutes. Like, there's way more going on.
Right. Yeah. And the abilities now, it's interesting because you're talking about like that high skill gap and ceiling and whatnot. And I was even just, it's hard because age is probably a factor in this as well. Like a lot of these pros coming into Halo 5, they retired on Halo 5. They stopped. They're like, Halo 5 was too much. And I don't know if that's like an age thing as well, but it was interesting having like Roy come back and play Halo 3. And one of the things I remember him saying on his stream is he's like, guys, you know, Halo 5, it was just too much for me. I just couldn't with Halo 5. So Halo 3 is back, and now we can hype up Halo 3, and he's getting all excited again. He's on his stream. But he actually had that one segue where he's like, Halo 5 was just too much. So, you know, it makes me wonder, a lot of these pros who are amazing at these games, apparently Halo 5 was too much, you know, like the abilities, there was just too much of a skill gap to kind of adapt to get into, or maybe it's like also a reluctancy to get into it as well. Yeah, like the age is a thing. But I think a big thing is like they have these preconceived notions of what makes Halo Halo, and I completely understand that Halo 3, that Halo and Halo 5, they're completely different games. Like it's totally different. So if you have this like kind of idea of what Halo should be, and you see Halo 5 and decide that it's not Halo, then you're going to be more reluctant to try to learn those mechanics and adapt and build that skill set. And I think that's something that you're seeing with a lot of the classic pros as well, as they don't take the time, like somebody like Shotzi, who's in those maps every day, just grinding every single jump and movement and nuance. And then you see it come to play, and he's like a legend when he plays, right? So there's a lot of time and energy that you need for that. And a lot of these pros, older pros, didn't want to take that time, or they couldn't take that time, or whatever it was. You know, and Halo 5 was just too much. I don't know.
The issue is a couple things. One is that, yeah, I mean, as you get older, you just don't want to press all those buttons.
Right.
It's just there's a lot of button pressing, a lot of stuff to keep track of, you know, your boost timing, is like all this advanced, like the advanced movement thing just really like turns it into a different game. And then you have the game itself, which I think was a colossal failure from a competitive perspective, from somebody looking at it as a competitive video game. Like, how we've said this so many times, how hard is it to put the Halo 2 ranking system in a game again? Did they like come up with something that can't be duplicated ever again? Like, what is so special about this that we can't just put it in a different game? Like, just put it in the game. Take it and put it in the game. Just put it in there.
I agree. I think that the Halo 2 like that ranking system
GIF where he's got the spatula and he's just like, put just like do it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And there was something like so rewarding, especially with Halo 3, like getting a 50 in Halo 3 it was very difficult. And there was something very rewarding about having that. But I gotta say, man, the matchmaking system, the ranking system in Halo 5 is savage as fuck. Not to be that guy who's gonna drop F-bombs, but it is savage because you don't only have to win in Halo 5. You have to outperform the game's expectation of how good you are, basically. Like every time you play the game, it's like winning and losing is what makes you go up and down. But if you win, you're only going to go up 1 experience point if you don't outperform the game's prediction of how well you're going to do in that game, if that makes sense. Like the game makes a prediction that says that not only are you going to win, you're going to get this many kills, you're going to get this many deaths, you're going to do this much objective time. If you don't outperform it, you get 1. You just get 1 little experience point. If you lose a game and you don't outperform, you go way back. You just set yourself way back. So it's so savage because you have to beat yourself and you have to win the game constantly. So that's incredibly competitive. And well.
I love that. I think that's amazing. But I think then where they failed is by not gamifying it correctly. You know, the Halo 2 ranking system was so cool because people think back to the colors. Oh man, like the Pac-Man, the reverse Pac-Man. You had all these different like little nicknames for the different like levels that you got. The box, then you got into the actual icons like the sun, the moon, the comet, and then the Halo ring. It's like nobody. I don't know if that anybody ever got to the Halo ring legit. I think it just never happened. Like we never got that far. I know like the ogres were really close. They were like in the 40s, like the upper 40s. Mm-hmm. But that's insane to me. That's like that is the ranking system. Like, yes, it would be cool if they had implemented some sort of like, you know, AI component or like ELO system where it's like you're in this game of 1,600 ELO players and you need to do at least this well to move up. And if you don't, you're going to go back. That would be cool. But that Halo 2 ranking system was very unforgiving. And even when you won, it kind of did that. Because if you won against like a team of kids that were lower level than you, sometimes you only moved up a tiny fraction.
Yeah.
And man, like to know that the absolute best players in the world couldn't even get to the 50 because there just wasn't enough competition to let them propel themselves to the 50. Like that's insane. That's like the coolest. That is the coolest thing. That makes it so. Oh, okay, yeah. That makes it so legendary.
I'm finding firepower.
So legendary.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, right? Kevin Cool actually asked the question. Tony just pointed it out. He said, "Why is 1 to 50 better than bronze to champ?" I wonder too. Like, I feel like bronze to champ, maybe there's something that's generic about the process, because like bronze to champ is like a direct copy from other esports titles like League of Legends and whatnot. Maybe 1 to 50 for its time was a new concept. Like skill-based matchmaking wasn't something that we had previously in esports titles. So Halo kind of set a precedent with that, and something was so exciting about that. And nowadays, every game has some sort of skill-based matchmaking, and Halo's just kind of following the trend. So maybe the biggest thing is about having some form of individuality with the skill-based matchmaking, like a different kind of creativity.
Simpler, man. You got to be simple with it. It's so simple, man. What level were you? I was the 38. Well, I was the 39. What if we're both gold 4 or gold 5? Or somebody's gold 4 and I'm gold 5. What's the difference there? You know, there were 50 different. There's 50, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like then it is like you're talking about you know, say you didn't know what esport I was talking about, because you really don't. When I say gold 5, you could assume that I'm talking about League, but like it could be another esport. So like you overhear this and you're like, well, how good are these guys at this game that they're talking about? Is gold the highest rank? Gold's like a pretty precious metal. Is that like the top? Is diamond better? Is there like
you can say the same thing about numbers above though. That is 25 the highest number? Or is 1,000 or is 100? Or you know?
True, but I feel like there was. I mean, you're either going to be at like 150 or like 99, but like at that. And again, I'm going to lean on the fact that like this was the golden age of console and everybody was playing the game, so like everybody understood the 1 to 50, and it was just such an easy way to break down Like if I was one level higher than you, I knew I was one level higher than you. It wasn't like there was no mistaking this. We were definitely like gonna figure out who was better than who. Rarely did you ever come across somebody where you're like, oh, my highest level is also the same as yours. Like, very rare.
What is interesting though is that, you know, you're talking about that, you know, I'm a 50 and you're a 49, so there's a clear differential. But if you get to champion, there's 200 champions, right? So there's only one champion 200, and there's only one champion 50 and 47 or whatever. So it's kind of a similar thing once you get to that like upper echelon, which makes things
that was cool. But
either way,
it's not for everybody. It's for the top 200. So like
the
majority of everyone that you talk to, even if you say that, they're gonna be. Do people even know that like that exists? When you get up that high, I feel like that's kind of like it's like a mysterious thing that you get into. Like they know the normal levels.
Yeah, Kevin's saying you'd rather have a number than a colored medal. Ultimately, doesn't matter. It's the same system, and you know, if anything, bronze to champ is more of a detailed 1 to 50. And yeah, I mean, it kind of is. I think the biggest thing is a lot of what Halo accomplished, like back in the day, it was the first. It was a first mover in its space, and it was so amazing at the time. I think it's harder for Halo 5 to continue to innovate in that space, and maybe if they have a 1 to 50 system, then maybe that's more easily recognizable for Halo fans, and they can jump into it and get behind it. Or you know, in the end of the day, I think it'd be nice if they just try to be creative with it instead of maybe that was kind of their attempt to kind of bring in other esports fans by saying, hey, we have the same system as League of Legends or something. Or I don't know.
That's
it's so confusing. Is it? I don't know. I don't have a problem with it.
The 1 to 50 was Halo. Everybody knew when you were talking about a 1 to 50 ranking system, you were talking about Halo. Like, this was Halo's thing. The 1 to 50 was Halo's thing. It was nobody else's thing. Nobody else had 1 to 50. COD had stupid Prestige. And you know,
but they did have like 1 to 50 and then Prestige and then 1 to 50 and then anyway, like,
was it 1 to 50 or was it 1 to something else?
I think it was like 1 to 50 and then or maybe it was 100. I don't know. It's
but like, either way, people measured their things by like prestiges. They were the level in COD was just an experience thing. It was never like a skill based thing. But I think they should like when you come up with something that's so iconic, why do you deviate from that thing? Like. And they should have kept the same ranking system from Halo 2, brought it to Halo 3. Why did they change it? Why did they just make it a standard 1 to 50 and make it easier to get a 50? Why would they do that? It was so iconic.
I don't know.
Makes me sad.
I don't know. That it's not Halo argument. Like I get it, and I also hate it because it's the reason why Halo, you know, why we have all these arguments is like, is it Halo? Is it not Halo? And everybody seems to have a different idea of what exactly is Halo. But I mean, in the end of the day, both systems are very competitive. Both of them work. But I think that, like you said, 1 to 50 just kind of is what Halo is at this point. I don't know where they're going to take it. Like, I think that like, as long as it's competitive, as long as it's rewarding, you know, and it's creative in some way, I think that they'll be happy with it. But maybe it has to be 1 to 50 again. I don't know. Certain aspects of the game can go back to classic, and I think that would be beneficial. Like the art style, they're doing that. That's great. At this point, I don't even know where this conversation is going. By the way, we were starting with an argument about which is the most competitive, and now we're just talking about numbered rankings, which is okay. So about that discussion though, what I think personally, like if you're gonna look at the number of wins, if you want to see it in terms of like records in dominance, like 2005, they did not lose a single, they were first place every single tournament. There's no team in history that has gotten first place consecutively 14 times. So right there, they win in that category. But if you look at talks and the level of competitive play today, I would say that games today, especially Halo 5, is much more competitive. The expectations are much higher. It's much more intense. There's much more grind time. There's way more reason to be a part of it. There's way more access to competitive play. People are just playing more. They're playing at the top level more, and they're pushing the meta further. So I'd say it's more competitive. So dominance in Halo 5, I would wait higher.
Do you think that's it, though? Or do you think it's watered down?
I mean, like, okay, so towards the end of Halo 5, the only people who competed were like the best of the best. You know what I mean? Like the people who stuck around were the ones who had grinded to
the top 3 teams.
Well, I mean,
so
like,
here
you had some of the best players all the way down. Like even Lux was like nated Denoxide and like some amazing players, and they placed in like 8th,
9 through 12.
You know,
yeah,
9 through 12.
Yeah, Straight also 9 through 12. Not even sure who was on that team, to be honest with you. Do you know who was on Straight off the top of your head at Atlanta?
Who was on Straight? It was an EU squad. It was Kimbo. Yeah.
No, but like, okay, so here's
players for the most part.
Like, you go to pretty much any MLG tournament in Halo 2. It was a dogfight to get to the top 16. Every team there was good. You had kids that were unbelievable placing in like the top 64. Like Ola was going to tournaments and winning free-for-all tournaments and like could not place in fours. Just couldn't do it. It's crazy to me because I've gone to those tournaments and competed. I played in one Halo 2 tournament, AGP 5 in 2005. 2005. Either way. I got ran over so hard, and I was like a good player, but the kids that we were playing, I think I got like double first rounded. Like we got destroyed, and like everybody there was incredible.
It's a horrible argument.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's a horrible argument for me.
Player,
I'm just
like shitting on myself.
No, but I'm telling you, like, I'm telling you, like, the top 24 of all these tournaments was so rock solid, but there was such a clear like
it's just
difference between.
You say that, but then you say like that, you know, Final Boss was so dominant that they didn't need to communicate, they didn't need to try or practice or whatever. You know, you were saying like they hardly even had to take it seriously at the end. You had to separate the Ogre Twins just so they could play in other teams because they were so good, which makes you think like, is it that competitive then? You know what I mean? Like, because Tox was so dominant, and then they got their butts handed to them for like half a year from Splice, and they had to adapt and beat this squad of absolute god players who had just been pushing the meta to the extreme. They had to learn and then defeat them. It's like, it's pretty unreal.
That same
you know
thing
what I mean?
Sort of happened with Final Boss. They lost to Carbon, and then they came back and
like that.
Because
what I see is like they
just went back and started practicing again. And then they came back and dumped on them. But
dumped on everybody.
Because they were that. I mean, we're talking about the most legendary players to ever play Halo. Like,
I know
these are the dudes.
Like,
like
in the end of the day,
you downplay it when you make them sound like they were just, you know, relaxed and kicking back. I know, because they were that. It's like having 4 Michael Jordans on the same team. That's like the kind of shit that I'm talking about. Like,
that's what Splice is as well. That's the crazy thing. Splice is like 4 Michael Jordans versus 4 Michael. It's like everybody's like Michael Jordan on all these squads, and they all had, it's just like, it's nuts.
I think
you have to be Jesus Christ.
I honestly think the issue is the consistency with the game. If it was more linear like Halo 2, where it was easier to digest, and not saying that they didn't have it down, but like there's still so many moving parts that you're going to make mistakes. And when the game's slower, you have the option to really not make mistakes. Like, you're going to make them, but you can really minimize the amount of mistakes that you make. And that's why they became so dominant, is because they were that good and they had the game down.
To understand.
Yeah, but I mean, it was easier for everybody to understand, you know, everybody's on the same playing field, but they had mastered that to the point where it was impossible to beat them. You could not,
as opposed to Halo 5, where the system is so hard to understand and confusing, and then
they're playing a harder game. But that's not what we're arguing here. I mean, it's their harder game. I mean, it sucks that they're playing a harder game, but that doesn't make them more dominant.
I didn't say there was a harder game. Now you're saying it's a harder game.
It's definitely harder.
Yeah.
Anytime where you can move like that, you introduce all sorts of complications to the game.
Well, that means that dominance would be weighted. Then dominance in Halo 5 would be weighted higher, you would think. I don't know. I don't like, I'll be honest, I don't like arguments in general. I don't like being on one side of a discussion. I love all these players. I think they're all friggin' amazing. But you basically just told me that it's a harder game, and that basically means that being dominant in Halo 5 is weighted higher. So then that would mean that Tox's domination they'd be the most dominant, the best squad, basically, because they had to work harder in a harder time on a harder game. Oh, it's even. Okay.
Maybe it's even then. But I mean, I still stand by. I mean, they were playing a harder game, but the playing field was much more watered down, way more watered down.
Towards the very end. It's interesting because
can't be disputed.
I can shoot myself.
You're getting the best players on their tail end.
I would say it's the opposite.
You think?
Well, because I'm going to shoot myself in the foot a bit and say that for the first 2 years they competed with assault rifles and ground pound and Spartan charge, so it was way less competitive. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to give this is arguments for you.
I'm talking specifically about the end.
Yeah, but at the end they had to refine it and get it down just to like those core mechanics, and it was way more competitive, way more intense. And that's when Tox actually started to fall off, was when they switched it, and then Splice came in, they started dominating, and Tox had to adapt and learn to the new system and then become dominant again in the new system. So that's what was so unbelievable about it at the same time. But then it almost kind of discredits a little of their achievement in the first 2 years because of ARs and of ground pound and Spartan charge. You could say it was less competitive game, it was less skill-based game, there was more potential RNG because you had power weapons, you had fuel rods, you had all this other crap. So I'm going back and I'm screwing myself over.
Fuel rod, man. Ooh. Those first couple of years of Halo 5 were the years that really turned me off.
It was different. So I think
the thrust to Spartan chart, like you could do both of them. So you could move like halfway across the map in a quarter of a set. It's just like, it's too much. There's Roy's quote right there. It's too much for me, man. There's just too much.
There's too much.
Too much jumping around, too much flying, too much explosive advanced movement.
And it's interesting. A lot of the best players in every Halo game had to bite the bullet. You know, they're like, it's too much. Halo 5 is.
They took their exit. They bowed out.
Shotzi's a maniac. He's a freak. He doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna let him have it.
It's a freak, man. He is. I hope he switches to Call of Duty and dominates once he gets old enough. Yeah. Show the world that Halo players are still supreme. I think there's one thing that we can all agree on, is that Halo players are the best esports players. We can transition to any game and be the best. I remember in Halo 3, after like once League of Legends started becoming like really popular, Assault and Cloud like started playing League all the time, got to like Diamond 1, like incredible League of Legends players. It's just crazy how fast everybody Hook. Well, I guess he started in COD, but like Enable, Formal, dominant.
I think there's one thing. If we're going to wrap it, I think the one thing we can agree on is it doesn't matter the Halo title. Maybe we can skip Halo 4 on this one. I mean, I don't really know enough about Halo 4 to say how competitive it was, because I kind of just skipped it.
You don't have to know anything about it.
But every single Halo game they're like the most challenging FPS games on the market. Like they kick your ass repetitively, like over and over and over again, until you learn the way to play the game. You pick up the discipline necessary to be good. It doesn't matter if you're playing. Like, I'm trying to play Halo 3 now because I didn't compete. I wasn't a high level player in Halo 3. I was playing Gears back when Halo 3 was popular. So I'm playing Halo 3 now because everybody's playing it, and it's great. It's kicking my ass. It's so difficult. It's simple. It's very simple to understand. The mechanics are simple. The spawns are simple, but it's just still very challenging. You got to lead your shots. You got to understand how the game works. You got to be way more patient. Your decision making has to be like so decisive. Every single route that you take, you got to be so perfect on the routes. So there's so many little things you have to know. And then same with Halo 5. These games kick your ass. They're so incredibly difficult. They're so incredibly competitive, and you can't knock that. Like, any team that's able to achieve dominance in any Halo they're legends. They're unreal. They're amazing.
Agreed.
You know? So just Halo is freaking awesome. It's upsetting to me that Halo 5 got so much hate when you have a game that is so incredibly competitive, especially towards the end. An 8-0 in the grand finals of the last tournament of Halo 5, that's still a very competitive game. Like, it's upsetting that people just want to discredit and say Halo 5, it was shitty. But I think towards the end, it was so competitive. There was so much exciting about it. And Halo 3 too. I think they're both exciting games. They both deserve recognition. So
that's the problem, though. For most of its life, it did kind of suck.
Yeah.
That is the issue.
I still liked it. I didn't actually complain. I thought there were nuances with the ground pound, the Spartan charge that were actually pretty unreal. Despite the fact that they were very powerful, I think that they added some interesting nuance to the game that a lot of people didn't recognize at first glance. But anyway, let's best squad dominance aside, a lot's been happening in the world of Halo. Halo 3 has been popping off. Halo 3 has been doing amazing. And that's awesome. Seeing Roy come back, Flamesword, Neighbor, All Stream is amazing. These are personalities who have awesome communities behind them. That's so exciting. The Roy's our boy chant just got me. I was feeling giddy the whole time that Roy's our boy chant was going. But what do you think of this new resurgence in Halo 3? Have you been playing any Halo 3? What do you think of like the recent events in the Halo community?
It's awesome. I've been playing a little bit, not Halo 3. I've been playing Halo 2. And I've been playing Halo 1 on the Master Chief Collection. I really can't play Halo 3 online. It is like so hard for me to play. It's so aggravating because
you see those blood shots from Snipe Down? I don't know if you saw
dude,
that.
It's the most aggravating game to play online of all time. The hit registration is terrible on LAN, and it's 10 times worse online. It's so hard to play online. It's hard to even watch. Like, I put out a tweet of my brother playing Halo 3, and I got like 400 likes.
Nice.
Yeah, everybody was pretty stoked on that. But Bravo commented and was like, Halo's back if Tots is playing. That's like the sure sign that Halo's back. If that kid jumps on the game, because my brother has completely left the building on Halo. But when he comes back to play a couple games, that there's
Halo's back.
There's some blood in the water. Halo's back.
LAN network, maybe? No. Does your dad still have the fire burning?
Version 2?
Oh
man,
please,
my dad already started talking about having. My dad already started talking about having another LAN.
Yeah, that game's
my dad loves all those guys.
If
he would only do it if it was a Halo 3 LAN, though. If everybody comes back, like enough good old pros come back, I bet my dad would throw a LAN.
Okay, well, you heard it here, guys. You heard it here. His dad will throw a LAN network LAN. If Strongside, Walshy, all your Halo 3 pros out there, Ninja. Hey Ninja, what's up, dude? Come on and join us at this Halo LAN, and his dad might make it happen. Let's do it. All right. It happened here at HCS Weekly. Bring on I see you, Luongo. We got to bring on the passes as well. I know it'll happen. Okay. So that's amazing. Halo 3 is doing amazing. It's good to see that you're excited about it as well. We got so many awesome people coming back to it. I hope that LAN happens at some point. And then we got a bit of your opinions on Halo 5, not your favorite Halo. What do you think that Halo needs to return to form as a popular franchise in Halo Infinite? Just a couple of things. We'll get into a huge discussion. That's a big question. That's big. Give me like two.
There's a lot. Things. There's a lot to unpack here, but I think off the rip, number one most important. Oh man, I don't even know if I could do a number one. No order. I'll give you 2 or 3. Okay. I haven't decided yet, but definitely needs the 1 to 50 ranking system, a la Halo 2. Has to be hard. I want an incredibly hard ranking system, not pre-patch Halo 2 hard before where it was like impossible to get a 25, but almost impossible to get a 50. That's what I want. I want it to be exactly like the Halo 2 ranking system was when we left it. The next thing is, I don't know if there needs to be a variety of guns, but I would really like to see a hit scan battle rifle. I don't want to see a Halo 3 projectile spread battle rifle.
I think that would create a lot of
that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, just with the way that the blanks and the way people get upset about shot registration these days, I don't know.
I mean, it slows down kill times too, and it makes the game harder to understand from a newer player who's like, I feel like I should be getting this kill and I'm not. So just
right, the reticle's on them, it's not working. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it would help them get more towards the Call of Duty kill times too. So hit scan battle rifle, I think, is number 2, and then number 3. I'll give you a quick third. Give us. I was about to swear. I'm not going to do it. Give us an effing LAN build, man. If this game doesn't ship with LAN, I am out on the franchise. Yeah. I
split screen and a LAN build. Split screen.
I'm cutting it off.
We already know there's split screen. It's already happening.
If there's no system link, I'm done. I'm done.
I agree. I think it took so long for them to get to that LAN client thing that they're using now. Like, we didn't have that originally.
Just build LAN into the game. If you don't build it into the game, forget about making it competitive. Just don't even try. Don't do it. Just don't do it. But yeah, those are my 3.
All right. I like it. All right. So the biggest event coming up in January, as we all know, is UGC St. Louis. 96 passes are sold. We have moved it up now, 128 guys. If you want to pass, this is the time to buy a pass. Of course, if you stick around at the end of the show, which we're getting pretty close, go get your damn pass. We're getting pretty close to the end of the show, and we're going to give away a free pass at the end of the show as well. So you better be here in the chat. You can get access to that free pass. But
and you can't sell it, you little thieves.
Yeah.
So you got to use it.
Hold on.
You transfer
to somebody. It, come on. Yeah. Take advantage of the opportunity to compete in some classic Halo at UGC.
Classic Halo.
Awesome. And Joe, Tony tells me you have a little announcement. Am I going to see you at UGC St. Louis? What's going on?
Oh boy, this is what you guys have really been waiting for. If you didn't know this was coming,
oh god,
I'd like to announce here the world premiere on the HCS podcast that I'm going to be joining. Drumroll.
I'm actually a drummer, but it's not going to happen. Yes, let's go. This man's going to be a caster.
UGC St. Louis. There it is, boys. You wanted to see the Fries Legion combination?
Look at that. Look at
We're
that.
bringing it
Just
to
that.
you.
I love this graphic work. Who did this? Is it Nick? Tony, who did this?
That's your boy James Jacket Jones, a.k.a. Pizza Jones, a.k.a. Czar Nicholas. That is the guy right there.
Such a sick graphic. Joe Fries, you'll be joining Legion as a caster at the event. That's so sick. Man, you're going to be casting some of the biggest Halo 3 players of all time. We got Roy talking about this. We got Snipe Down. We got people saying, let's rebuild Straight Rippin'. I hope it happens. I don't know. But imagine, dude, casting some Halo 3.
Friends, the better.
Bring your dad, too.
I am going to try to bring my dad and my brother. I'll try to bring my whole family down there.
Yeah,
man, that'll be it's going to be a fun time. I'm super excited. I hope that there aren't any conflicting events that I'm going to have to cover, but hopefully we picked a good weekend and I can get down there with no issues and switch shirts with my boy Legend Queen.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a good lineup. It's already looking awesome. I will be at the event. I'm going to be excited to see you there as well. But that does cover that's like everything for my questions. I've got one more though, and this one's off topic. This is just something that I noticed from your Twitter. What's up with all the vegan stuff? Tell me about the give the audience a bit of an intro to the vegan lifestyle, because it seems like you are one hell of a representative.
This is my lifestyle, man. Yeah, my Twitter, my Instagram stories. I really go hard on the Instagram stories. I've been trying to bring it to Twitter a little bit to get people more involved, but man, my Instagram stories are really where it's at. So I travel a lot. That's me. That's my nickname. I travel a lot. So every time I go somewhere, which is like almost every week, I try to eat some crazy food. And I'm vegan, so it's always crazy vegan food. But I actually just did something today with Assault and Mochilla. They picked me up from the airport and brought me to. I saw this post, this like viral post that maybe like 2-3 days ago. I see this like burrito, and it's like this massive vegan burrito. It's 4 tortillas and like all these toppings. It's like weighs like 15 pounds. It's 4 tortillas. So
the carbs
it's
in
like
that thing.
This big.
Jesus.
And they picked me up. It's in Texas. I came down here. We got 2 of them. I ate a half of one of these. I have 16 inches of burrito in me right now. 16 inches. of burrito in me right now. But this is like a regular thing for me. I just fly around. I actually here. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. I might screw up the camera, but since it's almost over, this is a Polaroid.
Was that the burrito? Oh no,
that's me holding the two halves of the burrito.
Why is it a Polaroid? Is that a vegan thing? You have a Polaroid as your picture? It's not just on your phone.
Yeah, that's just like a hipster thing, I think. But I carry this. I bought this Polaroid for my birthday to document like all the stupid stuff that happened on my birthday because I cooked a ton of food and like I cooked for 10 hours straight. And I had a bunch of my friends over and we just ate and had a good time. Yeah, it was awesome. And now I just kind of like I kept buying film and I just kept doing it. I don't know. It's like it's kind of cool to have like these little I like do this thing on my Instagram now where I take these and then like I go into Photoshop and I write like where I was on the bottom and like put like a background behind it. And those are like my Instagram pictures now are just like the Polaroids that I take from all the places that I go to because I'm tired of only trying to post model pictures of myself and shit. Oh, there it was. I screwed it up in the last second. Damn, I tried to make it the whole time without swearing.
You got it.
Oh, well.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, follow me for lots of ice cream pictures and ice cream stories and crazy food runs.
Between the Polaroids and the long hair and the vegan stuff, I think you bring a great new flavor to the casting lineup coming up in January. That's my more horrible joke. I feel like Walshy's saying that. But honestly, man, I'm excited to have you as a part of the lineup. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today and talking about Halo. I know we had a long, convoluted discussion about who's the best team. And I think in the end, we'll call it a tie. We'll put it down to a tie.
Yeah.
And yeah,
taking all the factors into consideration, you know, the harder game, less wins, of course, you know, whatever.
Oh yeah, sure.
Call it a draw.
Yeah, sure. All right, GG's. Thanks for being on, and I'll see you in January, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. Shout out to the whole UGC HCS Weekly team, Tony, Nick in the back. Love you guys. Hopefully, I'll see you guys soon.
Is that Tony just said A?
Yeah,
does that come through? Oh, it's not on the stream. I thought you guys got to hear the voice of God come down with the stream. We only hear it. Okay. All right.
Thank you to the viewers also, all 95 of you for tuning in. We kick it back to Alex so I can jump out and then you guys can give away the pass. I'll do like a hair.
Let's give away that pass.
See
you around, man. All right, guys. So apparently we got a UGC St. Louis pass to give away. Of course, we've got 128 available spots. This is one of the available spots you're going to be getting here. So this is going to go up on screen right now. I'm assuming, Tony, throw up the graphic. Guys, get your keyboards ready. Oh, that's it on the bottom. Team pass code right there. Go to ugcstore.ggg HCXXXX pass. That's it. That's your code. Get there, guys. I don't know if you got like stream delay. If you're watching this on Mixer, you have an advantage. I think you have like a 10-second advantage on Mixer. So you're probably already there. You're 10 seconds ahead. Get it. Oh, shit. Valley's on that too. Let's get it. All right. So I don't know. Am I supposed to hang around until the person gets it and then say something? Or what's up, Tony? What do I do? I'm just. We gonna show off the HCS Weekly merch as well? Are we waiting for the winner? I don't know. No merch. What? Come on. That's the usual. Tony says no. Don't do the winner. Okay. All right, guys. We're not gonna announce the winner. All right. Okay, we are talking about the merch then. Guys, take a look what's on screen. Tony put up the graphic. Of course, guys, you can support the show by buying some of this merch, these awesome HCS Weekly gear right here. And of course, everything that you buy not only supports the show, supports myself as well. And like usual, guys, I would highly appreciate some of that support. I currently have the hoodie. It's pretty badass. You should check it out, guys. It's an awesome way to get involved and be a part of our HCS Weekly community. Keep pushing Halo. Bring Halo back on the map, honestly. Halo, it's just so exciting. No matter what Halo game it is, it's so exciting to see some love, see some support for such an awesome title. So overall, guys, that closes out the show for today. Which team was the most dominant team in competitive Halo? It's up to you to decide. I personally think it was Tox, guys. I mean, come on. Like the level of competitive play today is just insane. Like these guys are gods. They have to be so much better than they had to be back in the day. But everybody who plays Halo at a high level is a legend. Honestly, this game is so intelligent, so intense, so cerebral, so difficult. So you got to give it props just for the franchise. But that's going to close out our show for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.